Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion on professional development for educators preparing for an AI enabled future. As we navigate through a world that's rapidly evolving with artificial intelligence, it's essential to reflect on how this transformation will reshape the education landscape. Educators, as the torchbearers of knowledge and skill development, are at the forefront of this stage. So, before we dive into our discussion today, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists, each of whom brings a wealth of experience and insight into the intersection of education and artificial intelligence. So, first we have Dr. Neeta Bali, who is a distinguished educator with over 39 years of experience, having held leadership roles at prestigious institutions including Mater D School, APJ School, GD Goenka World School, and Kasiga School. Currently, she serves as Director of Schools at the Seth and Andaram Jaipuria Group of Schools. Dr. Bali is a skilled speaker, trainer, and counselor with expertise in multiple curricula like ICSE, CBSE, IB, and Cambridge. She has authored educational books and is the recipient of numerous accolades, including the Jean Laurie International Grant and India's Most Impactful Leaders 2022 award. Joining us next is Aarsh Srivastava, the co-founder of Gravitas AI. I welcome you both to the panel discussion today.
Thank you, Roshali. Very pleased to have both of us, and I'm honored to share the panel with Neeta Balaji so that we can show some light on the topics which are related to education.
Thank you. Glad to be here as well, Aarsh and Rushadi.
Likewise, ma'am. So, starting with our opening keynote segment. So, my first question is to you, Dr. Neeta Bali, that as we move towards an AI-driven world, so how do you see the role of teachers evolving beyond traditional instructions?
See, over a period of time, I would say 40 years is a long time, and you stand slightly corrected. I'm currently with the MBN group of schools as director
Yes, right.
academics. I head three large schools as director academics. So, as I said, somebody who's been associated with schools for almost 40 years, that's a long, long time. I've seen phenomenal changes, see changes happening in the educational landscape. And with the intervention of technology, and particularly after I think pandemic, technology in education, integration of technology in education is becoming that much more accelerated. The pace has become accelerated. Uh, One, the pace has become accelerated. Two, I think the people are adapting and adopting faster, much, much faster. And now with the advent of the AI tools, I find that majority of the schools, and of course, as somebody who's in the position of a director, as a facilitator, definitely I'm very keen also that the schools that I'm associated with, teachers should use AI, should understand the potential of artificial intelligence, and should use it in teaching learning. Because for a simple reason, if you're going to use AI in your classroom, AI tools in your classroom, it'll make everybody's lives easier. You as a teacher, we need to understand as teachers, you're irreplaceable, almost irreplaceable because of the human factor. Nobody can really replace a teacher. So one need not feel insecure at all because, as I said, you are absolutely indispensable. But at the same time, if you're using the AI tools, I think you are able to create that little space where you can foster creativity amongst children. You could be spending your time, which is freed up because of the use of AI tools. You free up time which should be utilized very effectively in nurturing critical thinking in the children, and of course also focusing more on greater academic rigor and ensuring that you build a rapport with the children on rapport building exercises with the children, so that children who come into your classrooms, uh, one, because of the integration of AI, they would probably find your classrooms much more interesting than they would of a teacher who's not using the AI tools. And believe you me, Arsh and Vishali, in fact, at this age also, I was telling somebody the other day when addressing a lot of staff, I said, don't resist. If at my age, at 60 plus, I'm happy to learn new things, I'm sure younger people definitely should be very, very keen to pick up the skills, because I think life is, particularly in education, education is such a dynamic ecosystem. If you're not changing, you're going to become outdated and very, very boring. So I think for those reasons, definitely AI tools need to be used in the classroom.
I totally agree on that, and like there's nothing which can mean more by saying that okay, people will be ready, people are ready, people will adopt it, so we need to adopt. So basically, there's an action which is happening, and that action we need to embrace that new action or the new thing which is coming up with grace, positivity, and see how we can get transformed or by like using the best possible scenarios, how we can utilize it for the best possible needs. So the role of teachers is definitely very important, and it will be always important. It is not never going to go away because ultimately students have to be taught by teachers. These technologies which are coming up, the cutting edge technologies, should be seen as assistive technologies which will help augment, speed up, enrich the way we educate, and also like help in terms of like evaluations as well. So like everything which is a task where a lot of time gets spent, so that can be reduced, and then the teachers will have more time to think more about how we can educate creatively, how we can add more value to the current ecosystem, how we can give more time to the students, so that there's a more human human connect in terms of like providing the right kind of channel between the educator and the student. So I think definitely like the teachers have a lot to play in this whole evolution in terms of like adopting this technology and using it for the best utilization towards the education sector and the betterment of students.
Thank you for sharing those insightful thoughts, both of you, Dr. Neeta Bali and Aarsh Srivastava. And as you have talked about how the role of teachers is evolving in the age of AI, it's clear that teachers will transition from being mere instructors to facilitators and mentors. And thus, they will guide students to critically engage with AI-driven tools while fostering creativity and emotional intelligence also that will enhance their skills, and those skills machines definitely can't replicate. So moving towards the next question, uh, Dr. Neeta Bali ma'am, as a director of NVN group of schools, how do you see AI assisting educators in identifying and addressing individual student learning gaps more efficiently?
See, first, I think, as Ash said, we need to, and as I said also initially, we need to free up time. So, how do you free up time? By using tools which can effectively do the tasks which humans are supposed to do at a greater speed, right? So, if you're going to have accelerated performance data analysis, and you free up the time, as I said, you can use that time very effectively to empower your students. Two, all said and done, there is a scope for human errors. Often, when you are handling assessment data or you're looking at student results, there is going to be a certain degree of scope for mistakes. I think you considerably reduce that scope for these mistakes when you're using AI. So, having said that, when you are not going to find too many errors in your calculations or in your students' performance analysis, you're also in a position to identify gaps. AI tools now are so advanced. I was reading up. I'm not saying I'm using all of that. There is Gradescape and all that. We are still not using, but it's so fascinating. Of course, one has used tools like Turnitin for detecting plagiarism, having headed an IB school for 12, 13 years. Um, I've used all these tools myself, or other forms of AI tools to make citations. But having said that, as I said, one, you reduce time, two, you mitigate gaps, errors, you mitigate errors. And three, I think with these tools, will facilitate identification of gaps in learning. Once you identify those gaps, I think then you're in a position to do the IEPs, that's individualized education plans. Uh, this is a very generic view. Of course, like Ash, I'm not an expert in AI, definitely not. So I can only give you a very generic view because, as I said, I'm not an expert. I am a straight, plain educator who can only give you what I have perceived and understood of AI tools. So this is my view that you accelerate, you're able to accelerate and hasten the pace of work. Two, you mitigate gaps. Three,
Yeah.
of course, you work on those IEPs, individualized education plans. Not that everybody is doing it, huh? Let me tell you this. But I know I'm very aspirational because I'm starting to use the AI tools, so I realize the potential. But uh, I'm sure most people agree that at least the older teachers, the older generation, generally resists use of tools for some strange reasons. But it can make everybody's life simpler. Let me tell you this. So that's what.
Yep, I totally agree on that. And like the real value lies actually in the domain where you're in, because if we have to solve the problems and we have to solve the problems through technology, we need to get enriched by the knowledge which you are carrying with yourself in terms of the education subject matter expertise.
Absolutely.
And that is where we can, like, the technology people can come in and try to plug in and see where the gaps are, where the blockers are, where the pain points are, and try to solve it and create a seamless journey which can help reduce those blockages and also at the same time provide solutions which can fit the purpose. So I think that's very important. And in terms of identifying and addressing individual student learning, as far as that is considered, definitely we are moving ahead in that direction. The technology world is moving in that direction, and we have to take baby steps. Definitely it can't be like one stop, one shot, and it's all set, but we have to definitely start adopting, as Dr. Bali also mentioned, that we have to adopt, we have to learn how to like use the technology and then start promoting it more so that the users can increase, because the more the users is, the better the people will understand about the benefits. Also, it's very important to not only talk about technology but talk about or enrich the people who are involved with the kind of benefits they will get, because the stakeholder buy-in is very important. And once you have that, then we start getting more, everyone gets more involved. So that involvement is required, and that will further enhance in terms of like the understanding of how we got a very broad idea in terms of like how we can do personalization in student learning, that we can, okay, we can deliver things, we can then get some insights, get some reactions back from student communities about different types of deliveries, etc. And then also think about like what kind of like deliveries they want, what kind of interest areas they have. So these are all very broad areas which needs to be investigated, but it's a very big project. When we start working on these projects, I see a lot of milestones in between, I see a lot of POCs in between, and thereafter a lot of user research coming into picture, wherein a lot of feedback gathering mechanism, etc. has to be evolved and developed, and then start absorbing that feedback to create something which is more very precise, is efficient enough. Because development can be done, the tools can be developed, but when it starts facing the real world, because if you're doing something for the B2B segment, it's very different. But if you're doing something for the mass, for the B2C segment, where like the end user are many, so then in that case the cognitive bias of mind will definitely creep in, and that has to happen. It is bound to happen, because the development teams will be working in their own silos, they'll be thinking with their own their experiences in their lives, and then they start working towards it. So it's very important to have that student in the mix to create the individualized and the student learning plans.
Yeah, I completely agree with with what you both have said, and really thank you for that insightful responses. And it's fascinating that how AI can act as a real-time assistant for educators, and as Dr. Neeta Bali also mentioned, it can mitigate errors, and in the long run, it can offer data-driven insights that enable them, the educators and the students, both to identify uh, the individual students' need more accurately. So, by transforming the way teachers approach learning gaps, AI empowers educators to focus on fostering creativity and deeper understanding, thus making education truly student centered and dynamic, as you both have already said. So, now starting with our storytelling session. So, can you both tell us about a moment when you saw AI make a significant impact on student learning in your classrooms, and how did it change your perspective on teaching?
I go first, Ash.
Yes, because
Yes, sure.
that's not my domain area as well. So because I'm not.
Classroom teaching,
So,
right?
no, I'll tell you. In fact, this is so interesting. I definitely have a nice story to narrate. Um, so here is the thing. I almost a year and a half, I did not know that you can make beautiful mind maps without the least trouble by using AI. So when I had meetings, I wanted to explain something, very meticulously. I try and make those mind maps, and it took me forever. And then I discovered that there is this tool called AYOA. Man, did it make my life easy? All you needed to do is to enter the right prompt. The prompt was the crucial factor. You entered the right prompt and you use the software AYOA to say, I need a mind map on this. And of course, it had options of making it yourself or using the AI. So I always use the AI. And believe you me, it took me precisely a few seconds to create the best ever mind map to explain things in a meeting. So I started to tell children about it. You see, in fact, I must share this with you. I went to one of those very famous boarding schools that called me for an audit, for an academic audit. And when I was sitting with the vice principals and heads of department, I said, you know what? Let me show you some beautiful magic. And use mind map to teach. So they said it takes forever. I said no, it doesn't. It takes slightly few seconds. So I said let's tell the history teacher. Give me a topic. So here was French Revolution. So I said fine. Let's make a mind map on causes of French Revolution and the effects and so on and so forth. And within seconds that map was ready. My God, they were so astounded. And then the Hindi teacher came and said something about, you think it's possible for you to make a mind map in Hindi on some grammar topic? I said, surely. The only thing is probably at that point of time, I didn't know how to use the script, because that mind map was not taking the Hindi Devanagari script. But whatever it be, it was so amazing. They were just so astounded. And these are all experienced seasoned teachers between the ages of 40, 50, above 50. They were so excited. Everybody was saying, each one wanted to see a mind map. They wanted to recommend a topic. Say, make me a mind map, make me a mind map. I want to use it in my class. I thought that was really mind blowing. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this thing has huge potential. I mean, you can do wonders, see? And a mind map has a visual impact. For visual learners, a mind map is the go to. If you want to remember something for the exam, if you look at a mind map, it kind of stays imprinted on your mind. And you're able to recollect so much in the exam. So the teachers they thought it was brilliant. And I wasn't really doing anything except using AI and only using the right prompt, of course, intelligently. That was about it.
Yeah, I think that's very important, and very a beautiful example of how things can change drastically. And I have got a personal example, and then I've been mentoring MBA students, so that's and we do give a lot of assignments. So the assignments, typically when the chat GPT just came in, we observed a lot of assignments were coming up from chat GPT. And then the tools have evolved further to catch up that plagiarism as well. So this is how it works. You have something coming up which is solving a problem, and then there has some nuances associated with it, and then something else will come up to cater to that particular issue. But I see it from a very different perspective, because then the students are not copying anything. They are reducing their time to explore. They are getting the content at the tips. They're not going to libraries to read the books, which is, I'm not saying that going to I'm a fan of going to libraries and reading books, but if they are getting that time, that breather of time to explore more content and get the content sorted in a repository, and then start researching about it, so that saves a lot of time. And even it's not just about students. My personal example, my mother, she was an educator. She was leading schools in DAV schools. and so the educator, her is still on even after retirement, and I see her writing books every now and then. And so initially there was a lot of like work which was going on to designing the books. So now with Canva generated AI tools, she is doing it her on own. So in almost in like close to 70, she is doing the Canva generated designs and getting it sorted and publishing her own books. So that's really great. So yep, at different ages you keep learning, and it's all important. It's important that you have that knack of learning and adopt it basically. So definitely there's a significant impact on student learning in classrooms, out of classrooms, and you have got more resources. So even like you're not just stuck in classrooms to have, or in the libraries to have that resource. Your resource is in your hands, and you keep on exploring more.
Thank you so much for sharing that powerful story. Thank you for sharing that story, Dr. Neeta Bali, on mind maps, and Aarsh Srivastava on the inspirational story of your mother. Hearing that how AI made a tangible difference in student learning is truly inspiring. And it's incredible that how AI is transforming classrooms by providing personalized learning experiences, adapting to each student's pace and needs. And what one thing is like we can observe this from this is that this not only enhances engagement but also empowers teachers to focus on nurturing creativity and critical thinking, reshaping our understanding of effective teaching. So now moving towards our next story that I would like you to answer, that looking back at your journey, how has professional development in AI shifted your overall mindset about the future of education?
So, Roshali, I think the future of education is very, very bright with the technologies that are changing at such a rapid pace. Uh, and sometimes I think it's frightening because you can't even, before you bat an eyelid, something new has come up, you know. If you look at the cell phones, the next iPhone has come up and everyone chasing after it. So before, as I said, you bat an eyelid, some new technology has come into force. And that new technology is only enriching your life. Uh, I am 60 plus, so one can recollect a time when if wanted to talk to somebody who stayed overseas. If a child is overseas, you would wait forever to make that phone call. That wouldn't come through so easily. Today, you just pick up your phone at any day, time of the day or night, and call and see your kid. So one could have never imagined that these changes would ever come about. So I see the future of education as very, very beautiful. I mean, of course, if I mean, given that all schools, at least in India, all schools, and there are schools with very conventional mindsets who don't want to change yet. Then there are schools who are not able to afford integration of technology because these things come at a huge cost. There are parents who are not able to pay for that kind of education. But I'm hoping that the Indian government, with the Honorable Prime Minister, who's himself a very forward looking person, I'm very hopeful that even the government schools will provide the wherewithal to the government run the state institutions to provide each child a great learning experience through the integration of AI and technology in teaching learning. And that I see teaching learning as a beautiful, very, very interactive process. I see technology as an empowering tool, really an empowering tool. And more than that, I really see it as a time saving device. Let me just put it that way, that it saves you immense time and trouble. And who says that with Canva you can't look like, he said that his mother at this age is also using Canva to design her books. So who says that you cannot use technology to be creative? Because at the end of the day, creativity is not necessarily something that you simply do. It's not just manual. I mean, this kind of thing also requires a fair amount of creativity, not just on the part of the creator, but also on the part of the user, the end user. So I see education of the future as education with huge potential, open minded education, education that is all encompassing, education that will not resist technology driven learning, um, an education which is dynamic and will quickly absorb, assimilate, and embrace the changes which are necessary. Because at the end of the day, being educated is about being adaptable and emancipated. So you can't really call yourself educated and emancipated till you're willing to adapt and change and adopt. I hope that somewhat answers your question.
I think very beautifully put. And there are two things which are very important. One, the development of technology, and the second, the development of how we adopt the technology. And that was being pointed out very beautifully. So even I have seen that push coming from governments. So we today 2024. So the government of India released their 2020 vision for AI, and the key sectors which were mentioned were healthcare, education, agriculture, with some of the five sectors which they wanted to focus a lot on. So that mindset from governments across the world is very much important to push their technology, because when a new change happens, changes can also create fear between people. And it is very difficult to adapt sometimes if some rumor is spread out or something like that. So when the right kind of rollout is done, that's very important. Stakeholder communication is very much important. So if there's a push from the government which is coming at different levels in terms of strategizing, operationalizing it, putting it into different corners in terms of addressing the issues, and also at the same time trying to provide the right kind of support to take the next level, the manager level people, to take it forward. So if that push is happening, then definitely it becomes much more easy. And that is how I can define the word professional development in AI, considering both the aspects of technology development and its adoption. So I think that's going very well. In 3 4 years, we have come to a very different level. I've been associated with this field for about say 9 years, and at that point of time, type of implementations we used to do, used to take a lot of time. I'll just give you an example, the current features which ChatGPT has. So you drop a document and get the information, or you drop a prompt and get the information. So 6 years before, we were experimenting with a lot of documents, say 100 about 150 200 documents, and it took us about 6 months time to annotate all the documents and get the right kind of results, not even closer to what ChatGPT was doing at this time. So it is a natural progression of technology which is happening. And in the last couple of years, the deep learning aspect has grown more. There's been much more focus on that, because the initial frameworks have been developed are very robust now, and we can on top of it we can develop it more. So here on the technology evolution will be e to the power x, and with the right kind of push from the competent authorities, there will be definitely very good professional development which you see in AI, and subsequently in the sector of education as well.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your journey with AI and professional development that has taken place because of AI and how it has helped you to save your times. So now it's inspiring to hear how embracing AI has expanded your teaching toolkit and reshaped your vision for the future of education. So, as educators adopt AI, it's clear that the focus shifts from merely delivering content to creating dynamic, future ready learning environments where both teachers and students grow together in a rapidly evolving world. So now towards our moving towards our next segment, that is the future vision. So how do you envision the role of educators evolving in the next decade as AI becomes more integrated into educators? Also, I would like you to debunk some myths that are common about AI in this generation. So I would like Mr. Rush to go first in this question.
Role of educators evolving definitely. I think we have talked about this a bit in the second question.
Yes.
Definitely, these are the main people who have the role. AI is, as mentioned by Dr. Bali as well, that AI is a tool, and that tool has to be used by the people who are supposed to use it, and that is where the role comes in. So there's a role of understanding the technology. There's a role of understanding how we can benefit from it on a personal level, professional level, and then there's a role of how to spread out and use the tool for larger benefit of the uh, dependents or the people who are associated with the educators to get the kind of information or the training or the learning which they provide. So definitely, these people have the most important role. The educators have the most important role in using and actually providing, getting the benefits out of the technology which we're trying to provide. The technology providers will come into play picture definitely and try to like sort out the issues and that will be there. But yeah, I see educators as the central focal point of evolution of this technology into the education sector. And in terms of like taking the steps, what steps we need to take, so definitely there's a, push towards utilization of technologies. Different companies are coming with different solutions. At the same time, I think we are trying to push courses as well. I'm as I mentioned, I do advise Manipal University as industry advisor for the AI and data science programs. So there's a push there to push more technology based solutions, more sorry, technology based courses, more AI based courses, etc. But there's also another aspect which is being considered or discussed, which is about how to like make it more practical for students, and at the same time how to make it more friendlier for the educators, because this is new, this is different, and like as everything is different, like in every 20 years you get something which is very different. When the computers arrived, then there's a lot of hue and cry about computers as well. When the emails arrived, then like there's a lot of hue and cry about that as well. But so I think the steps which you need to take is to identify the stakeholders impacted, then do analysis of the pain points and the benefits which they have, they can get, analyze the pain points, basically what type of pain points they will have, and what kind of areas they need support on, which can be towards their duties, towards getting them comfortable on this, and also like look at the ethical aspects of it. So I think if we can start working stakeholder wise into this area, then we'll have a very good let's sort of like journey prepared for taking the solution to the last level.
Also, I would like you to debunk one common myth that is very common in today's generation, like among the educators.
So what is the myth?
I would like you to debunk
Okay,
that
all right,
myth,
okay.
the common myth that is very common.
Common is like I think I've heard most of it, and I think it's quite common that educators will get replaced, and I'm a very strong believer of that will never gonna happen. It is impossible to have that, because ultimately the teaching will come from educators only, and these solutions, even if they have the power to be educators, we should not go in that direction at this point of time with the kind of technology which we have, because we need to have first the ethical regulations around the technology, and policies being framed, regulatory frameworks being framed, and then under the ambit of that, we should be developing the solutions which this technology can take, can help us with, because this is not just an application development, it's about mimicking the human brain. And with those neural networks which you're trying to mimic, definitely there's a lot which can happen on the other side as well. So we need to be very careful, we need to be excited about this, we need to be enthusiastic about it, we need to utilize it to the full potential, but at the same time seal it with the right kind of sealant so that it doesn't cross the limits.
Yeah, Dr. Neeta Bali, can you please share your views on this?
Okay, if I were to look at the role of educators with the use of AI, as I have been saying repeatedly, they'll be considerably, free because the usual mundane tasks would be taken over by automation and AI. If mundane tasks are automated, then you definitely have more time to do things which are more empowering. So, one, mundane tasks are taken care of, and you have more time to dedicate to some more creative work. Two, if you're using the tool, the imperfections will be reduced because when you're doing it manually, like I said, when you're doing things manually, I mean, I remember way back when I started teaching in '83, and when we'd sit down to do those registers, when we calculated the attendance, it was obnoxious. Inevitably, people like us who are teachers of English would end up making errors and hated, and it was a convent school, so sisters hated the erasures that we made. You had to erase something. to make those corrections, and it was
Remember
awful.
those long attendance registers with
Yes,
P, P, P,
yes,
P, and
yes.
dots in
Remember?
between? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And in different schools, you'll have different styles. You'd have mountains going up and down. You'd
Yes,
have
yes. I've seen that
PAs.
because my mother was an educator. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you would know what a painful task that was. So you don't have to go through those grueling, that whole grueling exercise and trying to rectify the human errors. I really believe so. Because when it's automated, life is so much simpler. And for people who don't know how to calculate so well, like us, teachers of English and humanities, inevitable that they will make errors. So human errors are reduced. A substantial amount of time is saved. And that time can possibly be used for designing great learning experiences for your children. So you are able to make full use of your creativity because of the time that you have on your hands. And of course, the work is that's definitely more perfect than the work that we used to do at that point of time. So I would say that all schools really need to be more flexible. They have to take to technology because I myself have seen, as I said, there are schools who don't have flexible policies or who think that they don't need technology. They are going to become obsolete sooner. They are already becoming not so favored as educational destinations by parents, for parents. That's one. Um, and the threat that people perceive, as Mr. Srivastava said, there is no threat because for teachers will be indispensable and will continue to be indispensable. At the end of the day, who's created those chatbots? It's human beings who have created the chatbots, right? And it's human beings who are going to use those chatbots, and it's human beings who are going to teach other human beings about how to use those blessed chatbots, right? So teachers are not going to be replaced ever. And the other thing is, the human factor that teachers bring, the comfort that a student derives from a human presence of a teacher. A simple pat on the back or a pat on the head or a word of encouragement from a teacher. Nothing can ever replace that. Nothing can. There can be no substitute for that. There is no replacement for that. Of course, I've also seen, it's exciting. I have actually seen one of our students in another school during an exhibition demonstrating an e-counselor, but then those were automated responses to questions, which you would anticipate from somebody who's traumatized. We'll ask a few questions. But then, as I said, there is no substitute for human touch, for human empathy and love. So I don't think anyone really needs to feel threatened. I think we only need to feel more empowered and happy that good things are happening around us. Right?
Yeah, thank you both of you for debunking this myth and for your forward thinking perspective. And it's fascinating to imagine how the role of educators will evolve in the next decade as AI becomes more integrated into education. And educators will likely shift from being knowledge providers to becoming learning architects, guiding students through personalized AI powered learning pathways. So, to prepare for this future, embracing AI driven tools today and focusing on continuous upskilling will be a key in ensuring educators remain central to fostering creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence in students. So, as we wrap up today, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our incredible panelists for sharing their expertise and insights on this important topic and your perspectives on how AI is reshaping education and the evolving role of educators have been truly enlightening. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and for contributing to such a rich and meaningful conversation. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Neeta, and thank you, Suresh.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.